Oh man, it's a little brisk out here this morning. Got my vents open and wow. Oh, it's great though. It's a really nice change of pace from when things were so hot and humid and sticky. I mean, I'm sure it'll be like that later on today, but for now, it's nice and cool. Alright, so today is going to be a holy shit, I am like I am really cold. It's not just a little chilly. Alright.
Hey guys, Moto Ramblings here, coming at you live from the beautiful mountains of western North Carolina. And you're watching Walt in PA. Stay happy, y'all.
Well, and welcome to another episode of Walt in PA. You know, I really need to do something about that opening. It's always, every single time I do it, it's awkward, and it doesn't get any easier. But my name is Walt, and right now we are rolling through Montgomery County. We're going to head down to Chester County to check out another covered bridge on this, what should be a beautiful Labor Day. But for now, it's actually not the video that I'm recording. That'll be the next one. I want to talk a little bit about the Walt in PA Shoutout Show, which I feel like needs its own theme song and animations and all that. So I believe this is episode 4 of the Shoutout Show, where I talk about interesting channels that I've come across, you know, while sort of going down the YouTube rabbit hole, be it, you know, new subscribers or people that I've been following for a little while that just produce content that really stood out to me as something special, something really interesting. So this week we're going to do things a little bit differently. In the previous 3, I've done 8 recommendations, and the last video got kind of long. So I'm going to scale that back a bit. I'm going to try 5 this episode and see if that makes things any easier, because I do have a tendency to get a bit long-winded, and I like to gab on and on. So if I reduce the number of motovlogs I talk about, it should in essence reduce the length of the video just a smidge. And we're probably going to do these out of order. I have some notes in front of me. I'm probably not going to reference them too much, mostly because I don't know when my phone's going to shut off, and I'm probably going to have to pull over anyhow to open them back up. Alright, so with all that said and that awesome introduction out of the way, by the way, if you're interested in doing a little bumper video like you just saw, please feel free to do it. Send it to me, and I will work it into, you know, a future video. I am really community oriented, and I thought that was a great way to, I don't know, get some useful video for myself and help promote the community as well. Just a helpful tip: if you do decide to send me a video clip, give me roughly 4 to 5 seconds of silence at the beginning and at the end. I will cut out the awkwardness of you staring into the camera. I just need a little padding front and back so that when I do the transitions, there's overlapping footage that will allow the transition to work. Otherwise, it's kind of awkward. It's a hard cut to you talking immediately. So if you give me a little bit of space, that would work out great. Alright, on with the video. Enough gabbing. So the first video I want to talk about is Sonny the Badger. He's part of a duo. Sonny and Angie both do supportbikers.com, #supportbikers, and they do motovlog content as well on both YouTube and Facebook. They have a rather large Facebook community, the Badgers and Bikers Lifestyle. So the really cool thing about Support Bikers is that it is a support community for everyone in the biking community. So, you know, you don't need to be in the bike maintenance business. You don't need to be a dealer. You don't need to sell motorcycle related products. It is basically for anyone. I am on the map as a motovlogger, you know, a content creator, and they're always happy to help. You know, I see them reach out to people and you know, help motovloggers get some traction and things like that. And they do a weekly podcast, a live stream rather, that I enjoy watching. It's at 7 p.m. on Saturdays. They're down in Florida. Beautiful weather down there. It's good stuff. You should definitely check it out. But all of that has nothing to do with the video I want to tell you about today. So a couple of weeks back, I started watching Sonny the Badger's Free Ride Fridays. Now, they're basically videos where he just hops on the bike, he goes out, he talks about things while riding around. It is very much a typical motovlog. But in this one particular episode, he has a breakdown. His Harley, the clutch on his Harley goes, I think it lost the splines or the teeth or something like that. And it no longer functioned. The bike no longer had power. So he pushes it to a nearby gas station, which is, well, a lot of work in itself. And then he proceeds to call his buddy. And the idea behind calling his buddy is to get a ride back to his house so they can get his truck and drive back out there, load the bike up on the truck, and bring it home. Well, his buddy shows up in an enclosed trailer. And there's just enough room for the bike to fit in there. So this is awesome, right? Well, just slip the bike in the trailer and off we go. You know, saves him a trip. Only there are no tie-down points in the trailer. So the only way to keep the bike up is by holding it up. Now you can probably imagine where the video goes from here. Next, it cuts to Sonny sitting on the back of his bike in a dark trailer using like an iPhone flashlight to illuminate the space while he's dripping in sweat because it's, you know, god awful hot down in Florida, and he's in an enclosed space. And the kind of funny, scary thing about this video is that, you know, as guys, sometimes we know things are a bad idea, but we do them anyway because of convenience. You know, who wants to ride all the way home and then get your truck and drive all the way back and then load up the bike? Just push it into the trailer, we'll be fine. You know, I think we've all been in a situation like that where it wasn't the brightest idea, but we went ahead and did it anyway, and then we had an awesome story to tell afterwards. So it's kind of cool that he made it home safe and sound, no issues, you know, no heat exhaustion or diesel fume issues. And he had an awesome story to tell about it. So head on over to Sonny the Badger, or head on over to the Badger's Facebook page. I'll have a link in the description, and check out the video. There's also a couple of other ones that are really cool too. He recently picked up what did he buy? He bought a Harley V-Rod for $1,500, and that video took me by surprise because, you know, he's riding down the road and he's talking about this bike, and I'm expecting him to tell me about this motorcycle that he was going to be trailering home, or this motorcycle that was in his garage back home that he was going to be fixing. You know, because a Harley for $1,500 that's in running and driving condition seems a bit strange. I've been kind of poking around looking on the Facebook marketplace for a winter project, and I'd kind of like to get a Harley, maybe a Sportster, an older Sportster or something. And, you know, even those are going for more than double what he paid for that V-Rod. Could be the time of year, you know, give it time, you know, a deal might fall in my lap, kind of a thing. But really good stuff. Head on over to the Badger's Facebook page and check out their content. They're both good people, and I'm a big fan of the live stream. I'm getting out of order here, which could pose a problem. later on down the line. But the next video I want to talk about is from IronBornRider. So he is down in the DC, Maryland area, and recently he published a video where they went to visit, him and his buddy went to visit a knife shop. Now, I've bought a number of knives over the years of, you know, I don't know, various, I don't want to say condition because they were always new, but of various expense, I guess I could say is the better word. But I've never been to a place that sold knives exclusively. So it was kind of an interesting thing to see this video where they walk into a knife shop that is, in fact, a knife shop. And we're not talking like kitchen knives, butcher knives, utility knives. These are all like foldable carry knives. Or at least everything that I saw in the video was all this EDC style knife, this everyday carry knife. Well, there were some big monsters in there that you wouldn't carry every day, but kind of getting away from the point here. But it was pretty interesting to see knives all laid out in display cases, you know, all throughout the store. Whenever I've bought a knife, I've bought them from like farmers markets where they have little knife stands set up. I've bought them from places like Cabela's or Bass Pro. I think I've even bought a buck knife from Walmart once or twice. But I've never seen a shop that was set up exclusively to sell knives, and I thought that was pretty cool. There's also some other interesting points in the video, but the knife thing kind of stuck with me. I'm not really a knife guy per se, but anytime I leave the house, there are a couple of everyday carry items that I take with me, and a knife is one of the ones that I slip into my pocket. And it's not because I want it as a self-defense item, although it very well could be. I like to have it just for, you never know when you're going to need a knife to open a package, or if you're out in the woods, cut a tree branch or a twig, stick, that sort of thing. There are just a million and one uses for having a knife handy. And most times I never take it out of my pocket, but it's on those couple of occasions that I do need it that I really appreciate having it. The knife I carry on a regular basis is a Spyderco Delica 4. It's got like a composite handle, plastic. It's not an overly expensive knife. The one thing I like about Spyderco knives is they have the big hole in the blade to act as a grip point for you to fold it open. For instance, if you look at something like a buck knife, they have that little post. I'm not a fan of that post. I like that big circle that allows you to get your thumb in there. So the Spyderco Delica 4 is what I carry on a regular basis. I also have another Spyderco that was a gift. Now, I don't remember the make or the model of that knife. I just know that it's got carbon grips. You know, I don't know if it's faux carbon fiber or what, but it's got these really nice grip panels on it. It's not a knife that I throw in my pocket because it's not a knife that I throw in my pocket because I don't want it to get all banged up. Whereas the Delica 4, I don't know, it's been through a lot, so I don't care if it gets a new ding in it. So anyway, head on over to IronBornRider and check out the burgers, knives, and bikes episode. That's pretty awesome. I remember that with no help. So the next video I want to talk about is less about the video, more about the channel. So for a little while now, I've been following a channel called TwoWheeld. Dustin, he does videos kind of flopping back and forth from a Harley and a Honda Shadow. And he kind of takes each on their own adventures, which is kind of cool that he does that sort of thing, that he has that variety in his channel and in his garage, that he's able to kind of appeal to two different audiences. I mean, they're both cruisers, but there's definitely a Harley crowd, and then there's a not Harley crowd, a not Harley cruiser crowd. So I think it's pretty cool that he's able to do that and appeal to a larger audience. I've been watching his videos for a little while now. He did a pretty cool one where he went out to what looked like a little town of gnomes. So every year, it's like they pick someone in the community, and then I don't know whether it's best to describe it as they honor them by creating a gnome for their contribution, you know, to the community. And it's just pretty cool to see all these gnomes all over the place. So in the community where I am, our thing is bears. You know, we have these bears spread out throughout town. But it's a program that is no longer active. Like, I don't think they've added a new bear in years. But the bears are placed outside of businesses. I don't know whether to kind of recognize them for their historical significance or what the case was. But the bears are kind of cool, and you can drive around and try to find them. There's not a ton of them. You know, they're probably less than a dozen. But pretty cool little thing that the community did in the past. They don't do it anymore. So seeing Gnomeville or whatever it was kind of cool. It was reminiscent of what my little town used to do on a much, much larger scale. Now, the video that I'm going to have linked in the description for TwoWheeld is one that I watched just recently, which basically was asking his viewers what they wanted to see out of his channel. I guess he's going through a similar phase that I was dealing with not terribly long ago, where it's kind of a guessing game between the content that you want to produce and what you think your audience might want. So rather than throw things at the wall and see what sticks, you just ask them. I mean, that seems like the logical choice. So the video is basically asking what his viewership wants to see. Now, the cool part, or the more memorable part of all of that, was kind of a conversation that I had with him in the comment section. Because during the video, he mentions that he wants to add more of a personal touch to his content. Not necessarily like talk about his day in a sense where he's listing everything, you know, line item by line item, but instead just kind of giving viewers more of a peek behind the curtain into the life behind the motovlogger. And when I jumped in the comments, I was very supportive of that idea, because, you know, when you watch a lot of content like that, like I do, no matter how good a channel is, there are times when one motovlog starts to blend with another motovlog, because in a sense they're all talking about motorcycles in one way, shape, or form. So sometimes they can kind of bleed together, and, you know, you can't remember whether it was this motovlog you saw that thing on or that other one. But anytime a motovlogger throws in a personal touch about life, I find that to be very beneficial, very memorable. It's something that I like seeing, and it's something that I'm trying to do a little bit more in my motovlogs. You know, I understand that there's an audience out there, or I understand there's a community of motovloggers out there that are very guarded about their privacy, and that's all fine and good. But I'm kind of in the camp that is a little less so. Like, I'm not concerned about showing you my face. If you want to find my first and last name, it is not difficult at all. You can find me on my business website. My personal blog has my last name on it. This is just information that has been out there for years and years. I got into blogging through WordPress back in, I guess it was 2006, and it just never, using a pseudonym just never seemed like something that I needed to do. So I've just never really worried about that sort of thing. So head on over to TwoWheeld, check out Dustin's videos, all of them, check them all out. And if you like what you see, consider subscribing. I'm sure he'd appreciate that. Let him know Walt sent you. So I kind of saved these last two motovlogs for last because they kind of go hand in hand with the topic that was covered. So the first content creator I want to talk about is Epic Adam Motovlogs. Now this is someone I came across through Saddlebag73, and first impression here was pretty interesting because it was the first video I ever saw from him after subscribing as a result of Saddlebag73 was a motovlog about motovlogging. And it was entitled the problems of motovlogging, or the problems with motovlogging. And basically he's just kind of running down the list of things that you have to kind of contend with as a motovlogger. So for instance, he talks about having to deal with metrics or chasing metrics. I forget how he phrases it. But basically, you know, you've got people that want to increase their followership, and one of the things they need to do in order to do that is to, instead of focus on what they really want to talk about, instead they have to focus on what's going to get views. So for instance, here's a prime example. So a while back I did a video on motovlogging with the DJI Osmo action camera. I thought the video was a little on the dull side, but it continually gets views. So I know that if I were to produce another video tomorrow about motovlogging with the DJI Osmo Action, it would get long-term views. Now, with that said, I recorded a video back in July where I showed off my Motovlog setup using the DJI Osmo action camera. And by setup I mean like how I ran the wires and all that stuff inside of my helmet. And I've been putting it off for, well, since I recorded it in July. One, it's not really what I want to produce. It's not fun. It's just it's a video that I know people will watch if they're looking to set up a Motovlog helmet with a DJI Osmo action camera. And I've been making content that's a lot more fun. So every week I push it back in the YouTube schedule and I pull things forward that I think are more interesting. So that's kind of a good example of dealing with, you know, some of these metrics things that motovloggers face. You know, and then you've also got people that hop on your motovlog or down in the comment section and ask you to subscribe, and they kind of, you know, they announce themselves as, hey, new subscriber here, really thought your stuff was good, you should check out my video. And they kind of bait you into checking out their stuff and then subscribing, and then from there some of them kind of disappear, never to show up again. So it's like chasing subscribers kind of a thing. So it's like the video is filled with little things like that motovloggers have to deal with. And I thought it was pretty interesting. And then shortly afterwards, I came across another motovlog from MotoKari talking about something very similar on why do you unsubscribe from a channel. And she talks about motovloggers chasing metrics, and maybe that's not your thing anymore. You know, they're focused on content that, you know, that doesn't really interest you. Sometimes they just kind of develop into a different sort of motovlogger along the way. So, you know, she talks about this kind of interesting dynamic on why you may consider unsubscribing from a channel. And I thought it was really well done, because she makes some valid points about, you know, just channels changing over time, and you know, and then if you go down into the comment section, it's pretty interesting there because, well, you know, it seems to be divided into a couple different factions. So you've got the motovloggers you've got the subscribers that subscribe to a channel and they stay subscribed to a channel because they want to support the motovlog community. And it doesn't really matter what happens along the way. They stick it out with that channel for the long haul. They are the dedicated people. And then, of course, you have the camp that I'm in, where I don't blindly subscribe to anyone, except for MotoKari. That was a totally different situation. It's kind of an interesting story in itself, and I will kind of, maybe after I leave the bridge, I'll tell that story. But under normal circumstances, 99.9% of the time, I don't blindly follow a channel because I want to make sure that I'm going to enjoy the content that they produce. If I subscribe to a channel, that means I've made a commitment that I'm going to watch your stuff and I'm going to make an attempt to comment on it. And I don't want a bunch of fluff in my subscription feed. I would rather have content that I'm interested in watching, then I'll be more likely to watch it. And I think in that situation, it almost frees up space for other channels to kind of filter in. So if I subscribe to, I don't know, some grass cutting channel that has nothing to do with motorcycles, I subscribe because they subscribe to me. Now in my subscription feed, I'm getting all of these tips on cutting grass when I don't care about cutting grass. I would much rather have that video on grass cutting replaced with something that I'm much more likely to watch, which is a motorcycle video, a motovlog of some sort. So that's the camp that I fall into. And then, of course, there is the camp that is a little more loosey-goosey, where they subscribe to a channel, and if they see something they don't like, they unsubscribe, without giving any thought to it, just, pop in, pop out, however it works out. So it's pretty interesting to see, I don't know, I guess each subscriber's personality type, to see where they fit into the whole thing. Because again, I'm in that camp that is very dedicated. It takes a lot for me to unsubscribe to your channel, but it also takes a fair bit for me to subscribe to your channel in the first place, because I won't do it just blindly. So anyway, that's kind of a discussion topic that generated in the comment section, which I thought was pretty interesting. So here are two. I don't know whether one inspired the other, or they had anything to do with one another, or if they were just completely coincidental. But these two videos go very well together in terms of meshing how your subscribers work versus some of the common issues that you face as a motovlogger, or sort of the obstacles that you have to overcome. So it's a very long. I'm sorry, I'm really distracted. The covered bridge that I drove out to see is right over there, and I'm trying to wrap this video up so that I can go take care of that video. So anyway, really interesting stuff. Head over to Epic Adam Motovlogs as well as MotoKari. Check out their videos. Watch them both and kind of think about both videos, and I don't know, you'll get a peek inside of what's going on in my brain. All right, I think that's going to do it. So if you enjoyed this video, please click the subscribe button. If you really enjoyed it, click on that bell notification. That will give you an alert anytime new content is published on my channel. I really appreciate all the support that I've received over the past few months. Really, really appreciate it. It means an awful lot to me. So thank you, everyone, for the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, the kind words, the support, all of it. I really appreciate it. So as always, ride safe, and I will catch you in the next one. Good Lord, I managed to get from home all the way to the covered bridge. Oh, and I still didn't finish this video. That's insane.